All right, here we are now. Another edition of the Fantasy Football Now. I'm Tito Jeff Thedoff. He is Chad Rink. We are on FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media. And as you look to the left on the graphic there, one of our fearless leaders, Tim, has updated it now. It says X. I don't have to do this or this.
Nope.
You don't have to do that anymore either. So it's at That Happens, at Chad Ochorenko, at FanStream DSP is where you can find us. And man, there's a lot to talk about. Chad, how are you tonight, my friend? You doing well?
I am doing well. It's good to have football, even though it was week one preseason. But it's just fun to see stats.
Yes, you're right. It is. That's exactly right. And I knocked out my first, official draft, you would call it, because I was doing it with fantasydraftproxies.com, which I do some work for. And so I had this draft. We've talked about it a little bit, but 12-team league, super flex, 6-point passing touchdown. So you think you've got to probably go quarterback. I know, look, I understand no one likes to hear other people's fantasy drafts. I understand. I'm drafting for someone else, so I'm telling you about their team.
Right.
But I think it's relevant today, Chad. So I had the 6th spot in this 12-team league. It's half-point PPR, not full point. And you can tell me if I made a mistake with this.
Okay.
6th pick, it gets to me after Mahomes, Allen, who else was after that? Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, Burrow went 4, Tua went 5. I'm sitting there 6, and I'm deciding between Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Fields, and I went Herbert on that one. I liked that. I was happy with that. All right. Next time, coming back through, and there are still most people taking quarterbacks.
Right.
The 2 best quarterbacks were Geno Smith, who I know you love, and rightfully so, and Russell Wilson. Geno Smith has the same bye week as Herbert. And so, although you shouldn't draft based on bye weeks, Geno Smith was slightly better, I think, the better call probably. I went Russell Wilson. Would you have gone Geno?
I think they're probably pretty similar, but I think with a 2 quarterback, like super flex, definitely the only time I think you really kind of want to make sure you don't have like a quarterback on the same bye week, because it could just really mess you up. I mean,
sure.
You know, when it's gone down, you're not talking like Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. You're talking Geno and Russ. They're going to be pretty similar, I think, by the end of the year if all goes well in both situations. So, you might as well just have, not both your 2 top quarterbacks off the same week. So I have no problem going Russell Wilson. I think that offense is going to be fine under Peyton. Russ is talented, and he may even he's got more upside, I think, than Geno. I think Geno's got the safer floor,
you're right.
though.
Geno's more likely to regress.
Yes,
because Russell can't regress from last year.
No, he cannot.
That's kind of like Geno's got a chance. Russell can't be that. God, he can't be that bad. He can't be worse than he was last year.
I don't think so.
We get to the 3rd round now, so I'm right in the middle of this thing, and now a couple of other running backs are going off the board. I think Justin Jefferson went off. I think Chubb went off. CMC, Eckler, those guys all went off. Okay. And so it gets back to me. I take Bijan Robinson in the 3rd round. So this would be pick 26 is where I'm at now.
Okay.
I took Bijan. And then 4th round, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, God, Jonathan Taylor is still out there.
Wow.
So I grabbed Taylor.
Okay.
Now, it's come out now that Taylor may be back or should be back in camp this week, but I took Taylor. Now, the caveat of this is, and I don't know if I overthought this or not, but Taylor and Bijan had the same bye week 11. It's only 2 running backs, the super flex, so obviously, but 2 running backs, 2 receivers. So I passed on receivers there, took Jonathan Taylor. Coming back the next round, then I started thinking, okay, God, what if Taylor doesn't play? What if Taylor sits out for a while? I can't have a weak spot there. So before I took my first receiver, I took my 3rd running back. I took Travis Etienne from Jacksonville. And we talked about him a lot. Mixon was there. I would have taken Mixon, trust me. But I couldn't take anybody off week 11 also. I took Travis Etienne for my 3rd running back, knowing that Etienne will play when Taylor doesn't, if he doesn't start the season, and maybe in that bye week when one of my quarterbacks is off, because I'll tell you my 3rd quarterback shortly, Etienne. So do you have a problem with Bijan, Jonathan Taylor, and Etienne before I take a receiver?
I know the 0 RB guys are going to would be, killing you for not taking receivers in. However, it was a half PPR.
Right.
So receivers aren't, it's not as vital to get that point per PPR. So
Right.
I have no problem with that because, again, I think that running back room, if they all play, could be huge because I think all three of those guys have top 5 RB upside this year.
Right.
Plus, you were talking like with Taylor and Bijan, you said have the same bye week? No.
Taylor and Bijan the same bye week.
Okay.
Right.
See, but it's week 11.
It's week 11.
And you are very savvy with this in our other league, the league, is if you have something like that, you've got time. And then, if you want to, flip a guy, and then you're good about flipping a guy for another guy that's already had his bye week.
Sure. I love doing
so then that
yeah.
way you don't have to worry about it. So, you get, Taylor Bijan. Yeah. And like I say, let's say Taylor's look good. You could probably flip him if you're doing pretty well with Etienne there too. And if Bijan, Bijan's going to probably play healthy wise most of the second half of the season. So you could flip Taylor for a ton of assets before his bye week and get some guys that don't have one. So I have no problem with running backs like that having the same bye.
I would be less concerned about the bye week thing if Taylor was in camp at the time of the draft. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the only. Then I was starting to think, okay, he's got his bye week. What if he sits out the first 3 weeks? Now you're talking about 4 weeks. You need a number 2 running back in there. So that's why I did that. So now we're 5 rounds in. I've got 2 quarterbacks and 3 running backs, not a damn receiver. And I was looking at guys, and my next 2 picks were both wide receivers. And again, half-point PPR. I took Calvin Ridley, and I took McLaurin from Washington. McLaurin and Dotson are both there. I could have taken either one of them. I took McLaurin, the safer pick, because I feel like I took a risk with Jonathan Taylor already. I didn't want to risk again.
Right.
Dotson's got a higher ceiling, no doubt. Dotson's got a lower floor. So those are my 2 receivers. So in theory, those are the 2 starting wide receivers. Not great, but when you got Herbert, Russell Wilson, and you've got that trinity of running backs, which I know is a strong word to use, Trinity, because we're talking faith now. Triumphant, whatever the number is. There's another number. What's the other number for 3? Is it triumph?
It sounds like I have no idea.
It's like TRIUMBATE. That number you could use, but I say Trinity because I can pronounce it. You've got that Trinity running backs and those receivers. So I think it offsets itself. Okay, I felt okay with Ridley and McLaurin as my first 2 receivers taken.
Yeah. You can also say just a stable of 3 running backs too.
You could do that also. God, that's smart. So now we get to the.
Yeah, I like Ridley. Ridley could be huge this year. I like Ridley, McLaurin. They're both the wide receiver 1 on their teams.
Yeah.
I like McLaurin there. He's gonna. If your running backs hit, if Russ, Herbert's gonna be good. So if all those guys, all you really need your receivers to do is just be solid every week. And I think Ridley has a chance to be a top 10, top 12 receiver. And McLaurin has that talent. It's just we'll see what Howell can do. But I have no problem with that. You're getting 2 wide receiver 1s on their team.
So now we get to the 8th round, and I'm looking and I'm thinking to myself, my God, what if Russell sucks or one of these guys get hurt? And everyone's starting to take their 3rd quarterback now.
Right.
And so it's slim pickings. Like Tannehill's gone. Even like Brock Purdy was gone. And I was looking at the landscape on that. And now, again, I've only got 2 receivers, don't have a tight end yet, but I took CJ Stroud. So thinking he's the bye week fill-in, and then God forbid someone gets hurt, that he'll play in there. But I don't expect huge things out of CJ Stroud, but I'm okay with him as the 3rd one.
Yeah, because he's gonna have the long leash there.
Yeah.
So and he's got. I don't think they're talented receivers, but he's got some players there.
Nico Collins there.
Nico Collins, that Tank Dell looked good.
Yeah.
I think
John Mechie coming back.
Yeah, and like you said, you're really hopefully gonna need him for the bye week. So
2 weeks maybe.
Yeah, so like I have no problem. Like I said, in these kind of leagues, getting that backup in a super flex, I think you just got to get a guy that if he stays healthy is gonna be playing, and that's all you can. And hope he's got a good week that week.
So I had a few receivers I was looking at then. I had them in my queue ready to go, and a couple of tight ends because I just knew I had to get one at some point. And there was 3 receivers. I can't remember who they were off the top of my head that I was targeting, but they all went before I picked. So then I took Pat Freiermuth from Pittsburgh. I deliberately did not wear the hat tonight just so we could have unbiased, but I think Freiermuth, where I got him, was a good value. With my next pick, he was the best tight end left on the board at that point. So now my starting lineup is filled out except for, obviously kicker and defense.
Right.
So the next round then, I'm starting to think, God, I took a chance with Ridley, who hasn't played in a couple years. McLaurin, with who knows in Washington. So I'm going to target receivers next. I had running backs in my queue also, but they kept going, the ones I wanted to get. So when it came to my next 2 picks, I took Jordan Addison and Brandon Cooks. I love Cooks as a number 2 receiver now in Dallas. Like I'm saying, I know he's number 4 on this team, but as a secondary receiver in Dallas, I love the value of Cooks. Jordan Addison's got a high upside on those. So I know I kind of was taking a chance on those, but I like that value. So now I've got Ridley, McLaurin, Addison, Cooks. I think I can always cobble together 2 wide receivers to use.
I think so, because I think Cooks is huge. Cooks last year was really his first kind of down year.
Yeah.
Dallas is going to throw. Gallup's back, but he's more of just the downfield threat. So
right.
Cooks is a nice second option there. I like Addison a lot, especially of the rookie receivers, because
Sure.
I didn't realize I was looking at some stuff for if we do a later show on receivers. I don't have it with me, but I think I remember like Adam Thielen was like top 5 in I think routes run.
Yeah.
Last year, like the Vikings had like I think they were 1-3 or something, but like so he's gonna be running routes.
Yeah.
And at some point you think teams are gonna have to double Jefferson. So I think it's for taking receivers as late as you did.
Yeah.
I think you got quality receivers. You've got your two ones on their team, and you've got 2 2s on teams that do like to throw. So I think it's pretty good. And Freiermuth, I love him getting a late tight end. He's one of those guys I think he's just going to be solid. Pickens or Pickett look good.
Yep.
So I think they're going to be efficient on offense, and he's a good red zone target.
You are the second sexiest person to say routes like that. Cam Newton being number 1 now. You're number 2 on saying routes. I like the way you say routes. Okay, so now I've got 4 picks left. And I still need a defense and a kicker, so that's gotta happen. Right. And so now I'm looking at my next run here, and I almost texted you and I didn't because I know you're a Bears guy. But at one point I was thinking, do I take Herbert or Deonta Foreman?
Okay.
And then Herbert went, so it made my decision easier. I took Deonta Foreman as the next running back, so that'd be the number 4 running back on this team. I don't know if he'll be that good or not, but I took Deonta Foreman on that one. Do you think he will be you hope you never use him. Do you think he'll be a decent contributor on the Bears this year?
Maybe. I think he's one of those guys, I think once they get inside the 10, inside the 5, he'll probably be there. Because Herbert's just not built that way. And Foreman's just a bruiser. And you still got another, then you got a rookie in Johnson behind them. So you don't know. I know he looked kind of decent there in the first preseason game. So I think he's going to be serviceable, because I don't think the Bears, as much as I like Herbert, I don't think the Bears are really going to rely on one guy, because I think they want fresh legs.
Right.
And the Foreman may be one of those guys down the stretch. I don't know if he's ever had fumble issues or not, where they may early on, like just, hey, if we're winning, we're just going to give it to this guy and just pound. So I think he's serviceable, especially if something like Herbert goes down. And he's had an injury before. Foreman has been serviceable. He's never going to, rock the world with his speed or, 100-yard games a lot. But I think he can be serviceable, especially at near the goal line.
Week 11, this guy's going to have to use both those guys because of the Jonathan Taylor and Bijan Robinson bye weeks. But so now I'm down to 3 picks. And I know the last 2 will be a defense and kicker in some order. I've got, my wide receivers now. I've got a choice between Kadarius Toney, Quentin Johnston, Jamison Williams, or Tyler Boyd, or a backup tight end. So I was torn on this one, and I'm looking at it, and Freiermuth's off week 6, early bye week. If Freiermuth is off week 11 or something, I might feel differently, but he's off week 6. And so I took a stab at Laporta, the tight end in Detroit, and passed up on those receivers. Okay. Do you think I made a mistake there? And it's okay if you do, but I wondered if you're in my position, would you take Toney, Johnston, Williams, Boyd over a backup tight end?
I probably would have. I usually don't like taking a backup tight end, especially if you get a guy like Freiermuth who's going to be decent. Right. I know, and then you could have probably filled in. Of those guys, I think I would have gone Williams, because I just think he's got some huge upside.
The first 6 weeks and then back. Yeah.
Well, he is, yeah. But I mean, I'm like, and it's one of those guys you hate that take a guy like that, because like you could end up, 1-5, and it's not going to help.
But matter. Like, you're right. That's a great
point.
Yeah.
But like I do like his upside if when he comes back, if he's in shape, he with that offense. But I have no problem with Laporta as a backup because you never know. Like other teams that have one, it's for trade bait, and you never know. So at that stage, you're just kind of a lot of times I look for upside.
Right.
I don't usually like drafting backup tight ends.
I know,
but
I don't.
Yeah.
But like I felt like I was being a gunslinger with the Jonathan Taylor thing.
Right.
And with the taking Ridley. And like I feel like, I've got to be a little more conservative at some point. And I've got to look at this and think, okay, what makes the most sense? Now, so now I'm down to my last 2 picks. And I'm taking defense, obviously, and kicker the last 2. I took defense first. I had 2 choices that I was really looking at. 2 choices. And again, I'm not wearing the hat, but I'll tell you this. I took is between the Steelers and the Chiefs. Now, I look down the stretch on these teams. Usually when I look at defense, if I've got to take one, I'm going to take somebody based on their schedule down the stretch. So here's let's assume it's going to end week 17, which this league will, week 17. Week 17, the Steelers are at the Seahawks. Not a great matchup. Could be bad weather. Who knows? Week 16, they host the Bengals. Not great, but they host them. 15, 14, 13, though. Down the stretch. We'll do this way. 13, 14, 15. Here's their matchups week 13, 14, and 15. Cardinals, Patriots at home at the Colts.
Okay.
Host Cardinals, Patriots at the Colts. I like those matchups for the Steelers. Now, the other team I was considering was the Chiefs. And I'm going to give you the Chiefs schedule here now, down the stretch again when we get into this. And the Chiefs in week 17 host the Bengals. Not great. No. 16, they host the Raiders. That's good. Now we'll look at 13, 14, 15. 13 at the Packers. Who the hell knows what the weather will be like and if Jordan Love's any good at that point. Host the Bills in 14 at the Patriots week 15. I love that matchup there. But I went Steelers eventually. Would you have gone Steelers or Chiefs if they're both out there for you in like a standard as far as defense scoring league goes?
Probably because they look pretty similar on their schedule. I probably would have gone Steelers also. Yeah. I just think the Steelers probably has a better defense than the Chiefs this year. So again, with defenses, it's such a weird it's a crapshoot. As long as they're not going to give up a ton of points, it's just mostly going to be can they get turnovers, those types of things. So I like the Steelers because they're playing a couple quarterbacks there in those 13, 14, 15 that could turn the ball over quite a bit. So I have no problem. I'm never going to argue with you on if you take any defense, really.
And then I took Jason Sanders, kicker from Miami, last pick, which is whatever. Who cares? Okay. So I want to get into this speech. By the way, the Yahoo projections thing they do. So 12-team league. They had this team projected at 8-6, 5th in the playoffs because 6 teams get in.
Okay.
Who the hell knows? If Jonathan Taylor plays every week, it could really change things for this team. All right. Speaking of Jonathan Taylor, I don't know if you saw this or not. Okay, the first news is Jonathan Taylor looks like he's going to report this week at some point. They expect him in camp this week at some point. Who knows how healthy he is? If he'll play week 1, I think he will. And I found this interesting, though. I saw this story on Bleacher Report that Jim Irsay, who is adamantly not going to pay Jonathan Taylor, this is your contract, negotiated, that's what you got, paid $20 million to help a whale get relocated to save him. Okay, so he did that. So he gave the whale more money than he's going to give Jonathan Taylor.
Right.
Whatever. The other part, though, that I found was interesting, the other thing I saw, was when Andrew Luck retired, he was not entitled to any more money. His contract then at that point's done. And Irsay is paid him anyway, paid him the $34 million he was owed to not play. So he paid $54 million to a guy not playing in a whale before he's going to give Jonathan Taylor more money. Now, I'm not saying he needs to give Jonathan Taylor money, but God, what a bad look for Irsay. Not that he gives a shit, but what a bad look for him, though, that he's going to pay a whale and Luck to not play versus giving Taylor more money.
Right, yeah. It kind of goes like the one comedian talking about how he has nothing against sea turtles, but he just prefers plastic straws or to the paper straws because
he likes the plastic straws over paper.
It's I can't remember who it is, but it's like some guy I'm not used to. But it was pretty great. But yeah, like I understand, helping, but he again, he's weird. He's weird.
Yeah.
So again, at least get him in, do something. He's still young. Taylor's still young.
Sure.
He still has a lot, I think, good 2-3 years before any kind of wear and tear. Plus, he didn't play much last year.
Right.
So it's a weird, like, I don't know why, what other issues are going on there or not. So I just know he's not going to be there next year. So it's weird.
Well, he could be, right? They could tag him again, right?
They could, yeah.
They could tag him. Something like there's other things, and I know it sucks for Jonathan Taylor. It sucks for Josh Jacobs. It sucks for Saquon Barkley. But if I tell you, okay, don't sign it, that's fine. Don't get paid. I still have your rights. Or do you want to take the money? And you can stand up there as much as you want and say, I want what's owed to me.
Yeah.
It's a lot different if you're making $12 an hour flipping burgers versus making $11 million winning the ball.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like generational money versus pay my rent this month. It's a big difference.
Oh yeah, I mean it is, and so like he's not missing a meal and that kind of thing. But I understand why the running backs do, because they aren't one of those guys because they're getting paid on what they are expected to do. They are never getting paid on what they've already done.
Never going to happen.
Where quarterbacks are that way. So they want to get the money because they know it's a short shelf life. So they want to get as much as they can. Now. Yeah. And like I said, I've never faulted the teams for not paying, but I still think, sometimes you got to do the right thing and just like, hey, we're decent people. You're a decent guy. Let's get this done. So I still don't think it's going to affect him at all this year. I think the bigger issue is going to be the play of Anthony Richardson with Taylor. Sure. But again, maybe not, because if Richardson starts playing a little bit like Fields did at the end of last year, then he's a real threat, and that's going to open up lanes for Taylor. So I don't think the passing game is as big of a deal for Taylor with Richardson there. It's just he's going to end up taking some carries and goal line with him too. But I think Taylor's fine getting him where you did. I think he's a huge value. Yeah, I think he's a huge value in all drafts now, because I've seen him in the 3rd round now. Right. Now that he's back in camp, he's probably going to
not back yet, but they're saying he's going to be back in camp. Right. If you're drafting now, it could be a big difference if you're drafting a week or 2 weeks from now when we get more news on that. All right, we'll go backwards here on preseason. Derek Carr played today for New Orleans against the Chiefs. Looked good. Looked very good. He was 6 of 8, 70 passing yards, threw a touchdown when he got out. And that's what you want. The starters are going to do that anyway, usually 1 series, 2 series, then out, whatever it is. But looked good. Threw to Michael Thomas. Jonathan Williams got a lot of carries. Then Winston came in after that. Winston threw a touchdown pass as well. But Carr looked good, and that's a big deal for the Saints. If they can get better quarterback play, I mean, that amps up Thomas, Olave, Williams, Kamara in a lot of cases. That amps up a lot of those guys as far as what they can do. So it was very good for the Saints to get Derek Carr off and running today against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, he did exactly what a veteran quarterback does in week 1 of a preseason against a vanilla defense, especially a team that he has seen before. So yeah, I think he's going to be a huge difference maker in New Orleans. So just a steady quarterback play. He's a smart quarterback. And they're like I said, their schedule is pretty weak too. So that's exactly what you want your quarterback to do. He looked good. Thomas is going to be, I think, the big X factor. Sure. For the Saints this year, if he can come back to play close to what he was before, like that team's going to make some noise.
That was one of the guys I had to make a decision on during that draft as my 4th receiver, Thomas or Brandon Cooks. Okay. I had them both queued up. Thomas went before I could take him. Would you want Thomas or Brandon Cooks this year as your 4th receiver? Which would you rather have?
Probably Cooks. I think he because you don't know what Thomas is going to be. He may not, because you got to remember when he was there there with Breeze. Yeah. So, you don't know if he's going to ever have that season where they're throwing it that much. Yeah. So I'd rather have Cooks just because I think they will throw, and he's been pretty consistent.
So the other day we had fun with all the names of the Atlanta Falcons receivers, and you talked about Bijan Robinson being number 3 on the depth chart, and you thought, number 3 on the depth chart, he's got to play the preseason first game, right? Get a lot of carries. And Bijan Robinson did not play against the Dolphins, and wasn't hurt. They they sat him, they sat Algier, they sat Patterson. All those guys sat. They instead had, here we go, Godwin Igwebuike, and Carlos Washington Jr. were the ones who did it. Logan Woodside started instead of Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke. And so we saw nothing of Bijan Robinson. Doesn't concern me at all, but just interesting that we thought we would see him and we didn't.
I thought, and I can't. I think they were on the road. I think if it was a home game, they may have. Yeah, I think they would have, just to get the home crowd. Put them out for the first series. I thought they may do that. I actually did a little DF. And that's why I hate doing DFS.
Did you do DFS for preseason?
I did. I did a little.
Oh my God, Rick!
It was like $1. It wasn't much, but it was like, because you got to really dive into depth charts, like how many guys are injured and stuff. And I thought, I'd take a chance at Bijan, because if he plays even a series, he could bust a 50-yarder, and he didn't play. And then, of course, I had to, and I was very disappointed that our boy Slade Bolden did not get more run. He had one target. I put him in the lineup just because, like, it's $1. No one else is going to play Slade Bolden.
Sure.
And if he ends up getting 3 for 50 and a touchdown, so it did not go well. But I'm not surprised, and they're smart not playing him.
I said that to you as the guy who had Browns money line and over in the Browns-Jets Hall of Fame game. So whatever. I can't really say too much, I guess.
Right.
I did watch the first half of the Steelers game against Tampa Bay. I watched that first series they really played with Pickett, Pickens, Deontay Johnson out there, Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren. And I know it's vanilla. Yes. Tampa Bay defense. Yes. I get all that. Nonetheless, Pickett looked night and day different from the last year in the preseason. Confident, had a great rapport with them. The touchdown to Pickens was great. The passes to Johnson looked good. I'm very excited. And again, I didn't wear the hat, but I'm very excited about the Steelers' offense this year and how they looked. The offensive line seemed okay as well. They used a lot of different combinations in there, but it looked really good for Pittsburgh in their offense against the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I think when these preseason games, you're looking at these kind of stuff. That's kind of stuff. Carr, fine. That doesn't do anything. Pickett, though, second year, this is what you want to see, that step up. Yeah. It's kind of stuff you want to see with like Jordan Love and those type of guys. So him being able to look more confident, throw the ball in time. He's got enough weapons. So I think Pickett's kind of like is now a sneaky kind of play late. And the Steelers team could be pretty good as well. So I think, this is the preseason. That's kind of stuff you're looking at, that you're not going to go overboard on it, but you're like, okay, cool. This looks like a football team.
I'm seeing Pickett go like QB 23 to 28 in a lot of drafts, like in that range. And I think he could be like QB 16, maybe even better than that this year. With the offense they've got, the comfort, and if the offensive line performs well, I think he could be a huge steal. I would much rather have him over a lot of the guys getting drafted before him. I think he has a higher ceiling with the talent he's got.
I do too. I mean, I like him. I like him better than Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying that he's a better player, but I just think I have this weird feeling the Jets are going to have a lot of short fields with that defense. They're going to run the ball a ton, and Rodgers is going to just have these efficient 23 for 26. 230 and 3 touchdowns, but it's nothing crazy and stuff. So I don't mind taking a chance on Pickett, and he can get out and run a little bit too. So he's got that added bonus. So yeah, I think he's a good value, because like I said, if he's getting drafted like QB 23, 24, he's got QB top 25 upside. Yep, or top 20, I should say.
Yeah, top 20. Okay. You want to talk about your Bears?
Yeah, real quick, because I got excited because I didn't watch the game, because I don't have any of this stuff, and I saw Fields' line. I was like 3 for 3 for 129, 2 touchdowns. I was like,
Hall of Fame!
And then I'm like, oh, he threw a dump pass to Khalil Herbert, who ran it the rest of the way. And then I saw the DJ Moore play, which was pretty phenomenal.
Sure.
However, I didn't realize this. The Bears were last as a team in yards after the catch in YAC. They only had less than 1,200 total yards after the catch last year. As a team, they had 0 plays where a player had 50 or more yards after the catch, and then this preseason they had 2. So that's exciting. But I'm not like he threw a screen and a wide receiver screen. So I mean, so I'm not as excited, but like, it's good as a Bears fan. It doesn't make me put Fields any higher. It just, as a Bears fan, I'm more excited that this team has some electric playmakers now. So I
was trying to think of what to glean from that. The fact they were last in total yards after catch in 2022, and it seems, and I don't know this, but I wonder when the last time was a quarterback was a top. What did we say Fields was? Was he top 5 last year?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
He was top 7
5.
at least, yeah.
Top 7, okay. The last time a top 7 quarterback was on a team that was last in yards after catch. You know? Like, I was trying to think of what that would mean. I guess it means you have a running quarterback, obviously, a Michael Vick, whatever, Randall Cunningham type of guy out there doing these things. But that seems to me to be a rare thing, to be a top 7 fantasy quarterback when no one's getting yards after catch for you.
Yeah, what makes me do is just to yell at all the Fields haters and be like, listen, if you look at that stat alone, that means he was good at the deep ball.
Yeah.
Which most people aren't.
Sure.
And so you catch the deep ball, you're getting tackled right away. And he had literally no playmakers because Herbert got hurt. I like Montgomery as a running back as on a team, but he's 3.5 in a cloud of dust, you know. And so he's not getting much. And then you got to figure, you know, their tight ends, Kmet's just like your regular run-of-the-mill tight end where he can get open. He's not going to be breaking things open. They had Mooney. They got Claypool in late, but he's not even that kind of breakaway speed playmakers like the Tyreek Hill. So they just didn't have anybody like that. And so I think now bringing in DJ Moore, a true one, Herbert is electric. I do like him as a running back. So if you get him out in space, the offensive line is better now. So you can probably run get those linemen out a little bit more. So I think Fields has another QB5 upside in him, and he has the tools, I think, to be a QB1 if they air it out a little bit more.
I don't remember the last time that I considered Bears-Lions must-see TV, but I see it this year. Isn't that weird?
That's gonna be a fun. Those are gonna be those 35-40 shootout. It's gonna be so much fun. And my 18-year-old, he's a Lions fan, so I know he's excited about this season. So yeah, and then my 6-year-old's a Packer fan. So
wow, how do you have an 18-year-old that's a Lions fan?
I don't know how he just it's weird how I think he just like.
Do you feel you failed?
No, because the Lions have been bad, so it's not like, you know, like the Packer fan. I'm a little upset. That makes me a little upset because growing up, I love Barry Sanders, so the Lions were never an issue, so I don't mind that. It was just the Packers one really got to me. But
I'm fine with kids being fans of players. Like if my son is like Barry Sanders, that's great. Like Barry Sanders if you want, but like if my son or daughter are Michigan or Browns fans, I will feel like I have completely failed them as parents.
Right. They're all Cubs fans, so I don't care.
That's good. Like, that's true.
That's the main thing.
Before we dive into this thing with the running backs, you mentioned about for the Fields haters. Have you ever, or do you still, downgrade certain players among your fellow league owners before draft to try to get good value? You got to be subtle about it when you do it. But do you ever say like, oh, God, Bears were last yards after catch last year, and then knowing you're going to go out there and try to grab Fields at a value? Have you ever done that? Do you do it? Is it effective?
I usually don't do it. I usually wear my heart on my sleeve. I kind of just know what's going on. But the funny thing you say that, because last year I was high on Allen Robinson last year.
Right. And
my buddy who works for the Athletic that runs the low hoop league was like, dude, he doesn't have it. He can't separate. Sure. And I kept anytime there's any news on him, I just kept sending him stuff.
Right.
And then he ended up drafting him last year. So he just says, you Jedi mind tricked me on Allen Robinson. Right, so I'm like, whatever. So yeah, so I usually don't try to do it.
Right.
Although if there are guys I really like, I try to keep that. Although I now have a podcast, so I don't know how that's going to be. But
that's the thing. I've already told you I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you were drafting close to me in the first round of our big league draft, draft that we do, I would not have said that. I swear to God, I would not have said that to you if I was worried about you sniping him.
Well, I put a trade out for him, so I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for him to get back. I don't know. We'll see. He says he's going to think about it. So I'm like, all right,
fantastic.
All right, and surprise, it involves my rookie first pick next year.
Next year, of course you do. Yeah. By the way, our league, if you ever want to know about our league, you can hit me up on the X at that happens or hit Rank Up. Yeah. It's a completely unique league. You cannot find a scoring system on any website that does this. And it's something that's been around for more than 30 years that I bought into and did this and kind of tweaked it a little bit. When we say keepers, it's not like a franchise thing. You get 3 keepers, a quarterback, a running back, and a wide receiver / tight end, and you got freebies based on things. There's a college draft. It's year-round trading. It's completely insane. But if you are that kind of person, I am more than happy to share it with you and tell you what our rules are and how it works. It's a bitch to run. I'm not going to lie to you. If you're the commissioner, it's not easy to run to keep track of all this, but it is the best league I've ever been in.
It's so good. That's why I have to help you run it sometimes with the points,
the stat updates and everything. Because when I fall out of contention, and I am petty, if I fall out of contention, I stop sending updates. If I suck, you will not. You'll get like, oh, here's the winners. If I'm doing well, here's the winners. Let me tell you what my guys had yards after catch.
Right.
Those kinds of things. Yes, I am petty for sure.
Yes.
Rookie running backs. Anybody stand out for you before we get out of here?
Not really. I mean, they look pretty good. Like Roshan, Deuce Vaughn, Tank Bigsby all kind of look good. Good yards per carry,
right? And
they're all one to kind of look out for, just because they're kind of all like the number 2. They could slide into a number 1 spot. So Deuce Vaughn is the only one that scares me, because he's like, I don't know if he's 5'5". That video of him at camp where he looks like he's a 12-year-old.
Oh my god!
But
ridiculous.
but they say he's hard. Yeah, exactly. He's hard to tackle though. So those are ones where I'm like, they're on offenses that will use them. So those are the ones it kind of stood out because they had pretty decent games on that.
All right, so next time we do one here, we will give you some tips about if you're starting a league or if you want to add some things to your league, some scoring options. I saw kind of a couple interesting things that someone else put out that I want to bring up as well. But we'll do that next time. Again, he is at Chad Ochocinco on the X. I'm at Fit Happens, and we appreciate you tuning in. Listen, like, subscribe, share, do all those things. Chad, have a great night. Let's do it again, man.
Sounds good. See you.